Hey everyone, welcome back to another episode of the Muscle Intelligence Podcast. We're in the middle of Muscle Building Month in the Muscle Intelligence community, and we are bringing you everything that it takes to understand how to add muscle to your frame with respect to training in the gym. We're going deep this month to ultimately give you every little thing you need to understand performance, to understand training. We're bringing you the best guests in the world, and today is absolutely no exception. Dr. Svetlana Masgutova joins me today, live from Poland, where she is currently working on her incredible program called the MNRI, which is the Masgutova Neurosensorimotor Reflex Integration Program. I know that's a mouthful, but I'll explain what it is. Anyone who has experienced any type of trauma in their life likely has some type of reflexes that are not integrated. Dr. Masgutova spends her life helping people reintegrate reflexes. Why do you care and why does it matter to you? Well, ultimately, if you've ever noticed a disparity left to right in your body, if you've ever noticed any type of structural imbalance, maybe something just doesn't feel right, maybe your body isn't developing equally, oftentimes this can be traced back to the lack of integration of certain reflexes. If you tend to be slow in your ability to react, if you tend to be mentally challenged, if you tend to be very sympathetically driven, meaning stressed a lot, the root that must change is the integration of reflexes. And this is something that I've been learning about for many, many years. And it's really, Dr. Masgutova is the number one person in the world when it comes to understanding the integration of reflexes. So I'm incredibly honored to have her join me today and discuss everything there is to understand about reflex integration. And here's why you care. If you're someone who ultimately wants to perform at a high level, if you're someone who ultimately maybe feels like you're tight, maybe your body feels misaligned, or maybe your hips are tight, your spine is tight, oftentimes stretching doesn't work. And this is proven. A lot of people just stretch and stretch and stretch, and it doesn't change anything. And what we notice is when you integrate reflexes, the body just relaxes. The body can actually turn down its sympathetic tone, which is ultimately its stress response that occurs because these reflexes aren't integrated. And your body can ultimately realign itself in the way that it's meant to be. And Dr. Masgutova goes through this with me today and walks through some incredible stories of people she's worked with and how miraculously her program works, and also exactly how you can do it too. And I think that's why this is very interesting. Dr. Masgutova is truly a gift, someone who's committed her entire life to helping people to ultimately understand what it's going to take to realign their body. And she's got some incredible stories that you're going to love listening to. And today's podcast is brought to you by our amazing friends over at BUBS Naturals. I think everyone who listens to this podcast currently uses BUBS MCT powder because I'm probably the world's biggest advocate. I'm sitting here in Costa Rica actually just having finished a coffee with 1 scoop of BUBS MCT in it. And if you're someone who likes almond milk, or maybe you like cream or milk or anything like that in your coffee, I highly suggest you switch over to MCT powder. Don't use MCT oil. It's really gross and oily. But MCT powder makes your coffee cream and rich and delicious. And it's an absolute essential in my morning. I also will add about 10 grams of BUBS collagen into my coffee every morning, just so I know that my hair, yes, I have hair, not on my head, but my hair, my skin, and my nails are healthy and supported with the amino acids they need to thrive. And I'll also add a little vitamin C in with that, which has been shown to improve collagen elasticity and collagen synthesis. There's a little hack for you guys. If you want to improve collagen, which is ultimately your joints, your ligaments, your tissues, your hair, your skin, your nails, those things are very, very important. So my suggestion is add at least 20 to 30 grams of collagen a day and add some vitamin C in with it. There's some other things you can take, but in general, that's a really simple thing that everyone should be taking every day anyways. And you can get the highest quality one that exists anywhere at bubsnaturals.com, or head over to muscleintelligence.com/bubsnaturals and get hooked up with 20% off when you use the code MUSCLE. Ladies and gents, you're going to love this podcast with Dr. Svetlana Masgutova. And when you do, listen all the way to the end, because we've got some really interesting stuff coming at you in the last few minutes. Dr. Masgutova, welcome to the Muscle Intelligence Podcast. I've been studying your stuff from a distance for probably about 5 years, and it's really, really interesting and really, really complex. I'm incredibly honored that you would take the time to join us today. Your background is absolutely phenomenal, and you're doing incredible things with helping people to integrate reflexes that may have been stalled. And again, you'll do a better job of explaining what that is and what that means. But first of all, welcome to the show. I'm so honored to have you here.
Hello, dear Ben and everyone who is joining today our podcast interview. And it is really a joy to talk about the integration of body, muscles, and the brain. Thank you very much for invitation.
Yeah, and so you've got a really interesting background, how you kind of came across this. You started working with some people who had experienced severe traumas, and you're noticing something specific. I'd love to have you kind of tell us about that.
Okay, so originally, my education is in psychology. I'm PhD, post-PhD in psychology. And my biggest experience, this is the work with those who got into catastrophes, different disasters that are nature-made and human-made disasters, catastrophes, and working in several big catastrophes, biggest in the world in 1989, for example, in Russia. This is the trainway crash. Before that, I worked with survivors of Chernobyl catastrophe, many other, such as Armenia earthquake, when thousands of the people were swallowed by the earth. Then it is moving to Poland next from Russia, because we had our own personal trauma. Our sister was killed at the criminal times in Russia. So finding no good way to clear up why and what, I was just like internally protesting against such system. And we made decision that we are living country. And then I started working with different survivors of the post-trauma catastrophe, post-trauma in Poland. And this way I was working in Europe. And next in 1994, this was my first coming to United States, where actually I gave presentation on my program on post-trauma effect, how it affects our body, our mind, and integrity of the body and mind system. And there we had huge experience of the work with survivors of the Newtown Sandy Hook school shooting. We worked with children, with their adults, I mean parents and grandfathers, grandmothers. We were working with their grandchildren. And it was big learning what is true, what is the truth about survival, about how protective responses are switched on in a human, in this kind of the edge, I would say, of the situation, when it is about whether you will live, you survive, and you will continue your life, or you're just giving up. Like when we were working with survivors, children, basically, but also their parents, in Ufa after the trainway catastrophe, when two trains were coming to the valley where the gas leaking had happened, and it was just like tons and tons of gas, and suddenly this explosion had happened, like equal to atomic explosion. There were children, let's say, some of them didn't have arms, they were burnt and broken, no arms, or, for example, big burning of the skin, burnt pathways, breathing pathways, and also, let's say, some of them didn't have nose, somebody didn't have eyes, or they became blind, or no ears, and so on. Just like watching all this by itself already big trauma for first responders, for those who are helping them. And I was there in the role of voluntary specialist of psychology, basically. And I came with my big luggage, how I was thinking. I'm the dean of practical psychology in one of the Moscow district universities, and I will just give the best my knowledge, new technologies, and so on. And coming to hospital, everything was upside down in my professional attitudes, in my professional belief, when I understood nothing will help actually these children. Something like, let's think now about how we are going to release your emotional tension. Nothing was working. They were not hearing us. They were not understanding instructions. They were in this kind of comatose state, in shock state. When cortex, the processing of the words was not available, and you were to think how you can help these children. Why I'm talking about this? Because this is the real situation when human life is on edge, and you need to do something. Or if you cannot do the proper things, then children were dying, and they were dying. Every sixth child were dying in our hands. And there the understanding came how body by itself is a organization that you cannot just like refer only through comprehension, through language, through cortical stuff. You need to go with some other pathways in the nerve system to reach the subcortical structures of the brain that were worried, they were governing the protection survival mechanisms. And you were like to reach this sentence and to calm down them. No words. So what can be that? Non-verbal techniques. This was biggest discovery, that in post-trauma state or in just more stress state, we need to know as professionals, and especially when you are talking about the people that are training their bodies and training, because sports by itself already huge stress. Maybe it is eustress, positive stress or negative stress, but it's so important to understand that there is no any stress that is worth of losing the health of your own nerve system. This is where we came to understanding. Let's reach the nerve system, the body, its muscles, its fibers. What are the rules? What are the laws for the work to keep them safe and also connected with the brain at the same time, to keep your wholeness as a human, as a person. And this experience was for sure just huge, with discoveries that, oh, skin is important for release of the stress. Oh, muscles are important. Tendons are important. The ligaments are important. And except all these kind of elements in whole body structure, segments are important. And unity of the upper limbs, lower limbs, important, and connection of the head and body. But end now, what is like governing now within all of our body when we talk about the nerve system, and highest level of that, our brain and cortex. And it was step-by-step discovery after discovery, when we understood, oh, there are some more secrets in the links between the brain and the body. So our teachers are people, survivors of different traumas and stress.
That's so beautiful. And there's so much wisdom in that we have to unpack, that I hope to unpack. And I think for all the listeners out there, first to acknowledge that most humans have some semblance of stress. And where this is applicable is I've seen this, you work with a lot with children who you may not even know where their stress comes from. It may just be the lack of the integration of these reflexes, which I'd like to jump into. And obviously, many adults have trauma as well. And I think a great place to start, Dr. Masgutova, will be, you mentioned like the trauma response. You said like when people are experiencing trauma, there's this internal response. And I'd love to unpack that, because I think my audience has a good understanding of how the body works. And I'd like to have you just maybe give us an indication of maybe what that actually looks like at a psychological and physiological level, as far as when the body is experiencing response, what kind of reaction is it having?
Mm-hmm. So here we will touch like several terms based on your question. Stress. What is a stress? So stress, this is non-specific response of our body-brain system to some stimulus that is whether too intense, whether it is affecting our body too long or frequently, and it is of the level that is, so to say, crossing the normal stimuli effect, which means many times it is a stimulus that brings to overexcitation of our nerve system. Our sympathetic system brings thousands of stimuli just to understand what is the possible danger for our body-mind system. And here the work starts. Now, if this stimulus is really much stronger than the, I would say, average level of stress means, then it goes in the direction of a trauma. So trauma, this means a stress, level of stress, when we stop governing it by our cortical functions. So now our survival process is so intense that it is just like overwhelming our body, and we cannot now regulate our excitation. This means sorry for going deeper. This means that our GABA neurotransmitter, which is inhibitor in our reflex circuits, you solve the secret, actually telling that the secret of all our method is about reflex, how to link the body-mind system. So now we can imagine that this stressor is of the level of unbearable stress. Unbearable means this is not encoded in many aspects in our brain. In amygdala system, we call this amygdala system, that is decoding the stress to find out if it is in our genetic code, can we protect ourselves easily or not? And when it is trauma, that means we have minimum of resources, or there is some stress that we do not have any resource, like explosion, for example. This is not typical for a human brain. We are human beings that genetically and epigenetically, this kind of stimulus is not coded into our brain. And this is why processing of this information is so hard. So stress becomes unbearable. Now, this is the way how I say for a stress cause trauma, anchored state for trauma. And here, usually three things are connected. This is three things are becoming hyperactivated. This is our body reaction. These are our emotions. We're emotional beings. We always have our attitude, our mind, our values. So our emotions are there because values are crossed over, so to say. And it is also some sensory anchor, sensory perception. Where at moment of stress, my eyes were looking let's say at the weights that if I'm a weightlifter, for example, or my eyes were looking at the, let's say, green grass when I was running, or my eyes were looking at the blue sky when I tripped and fallen down while I was jumping or performing any kind of physical activity. Or I just was seeing one person in the hall when I was going with bodybuilding and showing demonstration of all that, and my muscles just had frozen in some posture, and it was very difficult for a person. So when three factors come together, they organize this anchor. We call this splinter, an emotional splinter, a wood in your body, and we need to work now with this trauma. And this is about trauma. So now, talking about stress can be positive, eustress. Stress can be negative. Usually, in everyday life, when we use the word stress, we mean actually that it is a negative stress. It is not a positive thing yet. So when we're happy, we're also excited, and it is stress for body. Or when we're swimming, we think that we are enjoying, but because of need for active movements, it is some stress. Stress is needed. Stress is important in our life because it is increasing our stress hormones for us to be active. Question is, what is the measure and how much of that we want, so to say? So person with post-traumatic stress, they are full of stress hormones, and they do not know how to use the stress hormones, and their body is releasing the stress hormones more than needed. Now, too much of this material, stress hormones, actually can hurt our extrapyramidal nervous system. This is the part of nerve system that is responsible for automaticity, all automaticity in our body. This is our heart rate and our circulation. This is our breathing. This is our lymphatic system work, drainage. These are our, let's say, also the muscle contraction, relaxation, our muscle tone regulation, by other words. So all this, just like about at the end, what to do with state of stress, not to push it in the direction of trauma, or how to come out of the trauma to solving the situations, I would say on true practical level, to pull this splinter, as I told, from our body. And we have ways for this. So that was about trauma.
Yeah. So question then, kind of twofold. Is that the same as dysautonomia? And the other question is that it kind of, I think I'll go down a longer path, is how do I identify the splinter? So, some people are living with trauma they don't even know is there. And so how do we identify, maybe what the trigger is, or like how it expresses? I'm curious if you have a process on how that, or do you usually can you see it in somebody's body as soon as you see them because you've done it for so long?
So easiest answer for this, from point of view of a person that is dealing a lot with post-trauma, the easiest response is it easy for you from excited level to come to inhibition, to come down, by other words? Are you come down easily? What are your tools? Can you really govern this process? This is like first important thing. And at the same time, when we talk about post-trauma effect, this is not easy thing. Like only 60% of people that get trauma, they are aware that they have post-trauma effect. Can you imagine? 60% of people do not know. And similar kind of statistics, 60% of men never will tell, even if they have PTSD, post-traumatic experience, and especially when we talk about combats, for example, or athletes. Athletes will not tell about their post-trauma, as you understand. Now, when you ask about real recognition of that, for sure, there are tests. We have amazing test on our website, which is called stress resilience level. So you can go, you answer the questions, and you immediately generate the answer. You have this in your hands. So this is more, I would say, metric expression, how much you are resilient against stress. When we talk about deeper work, when you say how to take away the splinters, this is basically a specialist work. And our professionals are actually oriented, they are educated how to work. I will give you some example. For example, let me take, we have our athletes, our professionals that work with Reflex Integration tool that we didn't give a definition at this moment yet. They are athletes. Is this okay for me just to bring some of examples, names?
That's perfect.
Our amazing specialist that works in NICU with newborns and saving their lives, and she at the same time works with adult population in her private practice, Isabella Renat Fontaine. She's a triathlon specialist, and her husband actually also triathlon specialist in Florida, and they are winning the medals and so on. So then Lee Light, Dr. Lee Light, and Doctor of Physiotherapy, Daniel Light, her son. They are bodybuilders. They sent their pictures, amazing pictures. Then let's say Andreas, he is a Swedish champion of the motorcycle sports. Let me tell about him. I hope that he will forgive me. At least in the past, he gave us permission to talk about him. So we started the work with him, and his shoulder, 12 centimeters, it's a lot, is higher than the other. Yeah. One shoulder is just higher. And he's very proud of himself. Just like, this helps me with my sudden circles and so on. And he's really a very brave man and dynamic, very open person, hot, felt person, and so on. And I'm asking, still, Andres, you want healthy life, bigger life in your career and so on? He says, sure, absolutely. And they say symmetry is very much important because any asymmetry means stress. Loss of symmetry. This is one of checks that your people want to do. Loss of symmetry in the body means actually that we're losing now symmetry, approximate symmetry of the visual field of right and left eyes, or auditory field of one side and other side. So this is huge. And then if a symmetric body brings stimulus to the brain processes this situation as a limited situation, as the need to protect the body, and survival mechanisms are switching on. Do you want to work with your body that is in stress, now on survival, and you add something more? No, absolutely not. So I'm explaining him all this matter, and I say, let's make your shoulders symmetrical. We have reflexes for that. You need to work with galant reflex pattern, with trunk extension, and also with the asymmetric tonic neck reflex pattern. If you will be interested, I will explain. And
I would love to.
we start talking. And next, what is so interesting, we are coming to the need to work with reflexes in child perspective. I say some things here are coming from child perspective. And next, I'm asking, tell me, please, when you think about your home, about your age, what age comes to you very fast? No, don't think. And he says, this is for your old age. Okay, let's think. Where you were living? What was your home? What was the environment? Did you have other siblings? What were the relations with parents? And so on. Discussion, trauma, very big trauma. When growing next at 12-year-old age, boy makes decision. I'm going to be very different. I cannot talk. I cannot tell about trauma, as you understand. Yeah, this is another topic, and it is really major trauma with tears. And this is when he makes decision. I will be leader of myself in life. I will do all my best to overjump my own head, and he does do excellently. So we are talking other things, and suddenly shoulders are boom, comes to normal state. And he just looks at himself. He says, oh my goodness, last maybe 12 years, 7 years, I was proud that my shoulder was higher. And he asks, how am I going to work with this body now? And I say, you will be winner even more times now. Just come down, take this as a gift. Let's set the goal. I'm flexible, and my body is much more flexible instead of being tight. And then it is coming. Oh, these muscles are too tense. They are really very hard for me with this tension. Sometimes I'm awakening by nights and so on. We are doing this work with muscular system. There, the situation was like, oh, your eyes were looking at dark blue. This was night situation. Oh, your body was feeling really in completely contracted state because of fear. And your emotions were, am I going to live or am I going to die? So we're going and talk about all these things. And next, talking about the situation, we switch on the imagination, the internal, we call this internal representative system. Now, to change the situation, we say, we do not know what is strong in our life. Real trauma that had happened or new history that we're going to create. Brain has two choices now, normalcy or dysfunction and pathology. The situation that is not normal, as we understand. And then we're giving this chance, and then we are assuring the brain that this is the situation that means normalcy. Brain will choose this normalcy. And it will be seen. If not, then possibly you need to work two, 3 times. So in this situation, we are talking to a person like you today, let's say, Andreas, you go to your young age and you now give the gift to yourself. Talk, do everything to help yourself in your history. And then maybe at 12-year-old age, and then maybe at 40-year-old age, or let's say it was 32-year-old age. So this is how we are leading, and person himself goes into history, changes the situation, till really true release is happening. And after true release, it's just like splinter is taken away, healed. I can breathe now. Thinking about my trauma, I'm easy, I can breathe. So this is kind of in very short, for sure.
Yeah. So that's really interesting. So I work with a gentleman who does what's called regression hypnosis, and it sounds like a similar thing. It's just like asking yourself, it's like rewriting your story, right? Putting yourself in the hypnagogic state, which it doesn't sound like you do, but then just like giving yourself permission to let your younger self know that you're okay. And that's enough to change embedded traumas. So it sounds like, or is it integrating that with the reflex treatments that you're suggesting? Because you said the extensions reflex, I forget the other two.
So this is about this. So we have chosen the way that must, so to say, to organize the talk to our extrapyramidal nervous system, not brain. We are not just talking and releasing the cortex and thinking and tension in thoughts. We want to do this for body. So this is why we do reflex repatterning or reflex modulation. We call this neuromodulation. What does it mean? We discovered, like in a catastrophe condition, working with people, that when we do different techniques with them, motor techniques, sensory motor techniques, they are responding faster, better to those exercises that resembles them reflex patterns. Like if, for example, hands grasp, I'm touching the upper part of the palm and the first level of phalanges, and I say, squeeze, please. And person is squeezing. Then I'm requesting person, now please extend your elbow, and I'm pulling your hand forward. And person does do this. And at the moment I'm pulling 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, I request them also to exhale. And when I come to 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6, 7, I do just kind of turn in order to strengthen the flexors of the palms, or palm, both hands or individually. This is the moment when we're triggering the brain. Brain is awakening its pattern. This pattern is given for an infant from 12 weeks of gestation, even 10 weeks of gestation. Can you imagine? Hands grasp? It's amazing that watching the 3D ultrasound scanning movies, videos that we have, we are seeing how they are going with hands grasp. They go with clapping the hands. It's amazing world there during uterine development. And now baby is born. And when they are born, suddenly this pattern, which is, look, extending over the elbow, all segments on the same plane, axis plane, and now hand, what we call, is in hands grasp number 2, which is closing from the middle of the palm. Fingers are flexed, and thumb is on the top, on the index and the middle finger. So this is very much important. Baby that is born loses this, and they have this during uterine development. Baby is born, and they bring the thumb in, and this is the already signal. This is the pattern, meaning showing that baby is in stress. Newborn, first 7 days to 10 days, has this pattern. They are keeping their thumbs in because they are now working with high level of adrenaline cortisol that was overwhelming the body for birth during coming through birthing canal. But now, how often do we do this? Person that is getting nervous, they go into this pattern. They count money, they see money is lacking, they go into this pattern. They are cold, they go to warm up themselves into this pattern, which means it is a regulator of with a high level of stress hormones, with a lower stress hormones. So this is very much important. And now look, hands grasp reflex pattern. We want to talk to the brain, non-verbal way. We are keeping silence. We just are doing the exercises and specific techniques in order to get the brain. And if I feel that body now reacts, squeeze, strong, 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 and at the end of the exercise, I'm doing this like curling, rotating my fingers in the palm of a person. Suddenly, strength even is bigger. Now I know, brain responded. This is good. So these are kind of techniques that resemble reflex patterns. And this is our hope that from sensory beginning, this is a receptive field, the upper part, distal part of the base of the palm and first level of phalanges. This is receptive field for hands grasp, phase number 2. But if person is there, goes with the thumb in like at early time of birth, then this is primitive reflex. And if our child goes over 1 month and a half, this means now possible pathology of the nerve system functioning. At the university where we're teaching, we explain our students, if you see this, this is your responsibility immediately to refer person to a doctor, to neurologist. So this is one thing. Now, if in norm we are going to phase number 2 and we are developing this in dynamic. It's not just like the whole time it will be like this. At 4 months, we go to hanging grasp. And sometimes we show, Ben, let's do this with you. Please, hands in front of me. Go repeat what I do. Repeat what I do. Thumb is in. Thank you. Out. Apart. The thumb is going to the side and other fingers are grasping. Now do circles. Other side. Now do this. This is the time of 4 months when emotional brain is active. So if person is like there, the fingers cannot come together and apart. It's more like scratching. We know already, emotionally, person is not doing easily. This is the check for athletes, by the way. Okay, then we do index finger. Then we do pincer gripping. So, and if athlete or any other person does do it this way, how I show the other 3 fingers are flexed, all is okay when we talk about reflex. But if they will do this, then we know, oh, this person went to cortex level, and this person is not an extrapyramidal nervous system while I'm demonstrating. This person learned for hands grasp and manual skills based on cortex functions, but not natural mechanisms and processes. Does it make sense? Then
totally makes sense, yeah.
And look, 3 fingers, which is tripod gripping, 2 fingers are flexed, tripod gripping. Now, if person cannot do this, athlete, we know, he doesn't like to write down. This person is not the best with fine motor coordination. So you were norm, bravo, except that timing for first phase.
Time was a little slow, yeah.
Yeah, some delay was there and we can improve these results. Why I'm talking about this? Look now, what is our discovery, for example, just about this one reflex pattern? When we were using BTS-EMG machine with my son, Dennis, we were putting 84 electrodes on different muscles, 84 electrodes. And then we were looking what is happening with many, many parameters of the muscle functions. We found one thing, that hands grasp is not just for manual skills, how we were stating the whole time. Child develops hands grasp, manual skills will develop in norm. Now we came to understanding that hands grasp affects muscle tone regulation. Can you imagine we are working with hands and we are affecting our vestibular system? Because if vestibular system is not participating, then we cannot talk about muscle tone regulation. And it was discovery. No, what we do ourselves when we are walking fast, let's say me, I'm in matured age already and I do not run every time. Yeah. So when I'm walking, I'm going with hands grasp sequentially. One hands grasp, other. Inhale, exhale, and I'm walking. And I know at this moment I'm tensing my muscles well enough for brain to think that I was running.
That's really interesting.
It is very interesting. Now, yeah. I'm not there, but I want to tell you one thing. This is not just like muscles that we are working with. These are brain-muscle connection, and reflex pattern is given epigenetically, genetically to our brain. These are the patterns that we have. And what is such a shame? Sechenov, 1863, brings the publication, Reflexes of the Brain. And up to today, we didn't study or well enough the patterns of the brain that are reflexes. This is where we are really putting all our effort, research to understand people, if trauma, stress, or just further development, optimum way, being athlete, not to finish your career, like let's say at 30, 34 or a bit older age. We want people to go easily further with their lifeline development. And now, look, I want to bring you example with hands grasp. Okay, so when I will tell, because I have know your body, so but you can try this. Please put your other hand on the stretched arm. So this arm, you are checking strength only. Now press down, and this arm doesn't want to go down. It is resisting. It keeps the same line. Press, please, strong enough.
Yep.
Okay,
Yep.
feel this. Feel. Be honest and strong.
Yep.
Now, with the same hand arm, go for hands grasp. Hands grasp, and now press. Is this very different? It is much stronger when you are with hands grasp.
Yep.
Yeah. I need to be there in order for you really to feel. But this or that way, what's so interesting, when you are pushing on the same arm, you can say, yeah, you put into the circuit, hands grasp, it is clear that you are strengthening your flexors here, you can be stronger. And when you bring both arms, one arm is open, the other is closed, and you're pressing on open arm, you are still strong, which means it doesn't matter. Every muscle in your body, when you go for hands grasp, is going with greater muscle tone regulation. I mean,
interesting.
Yes, I'm selling the secret at this moment, truly saying that. This is how athletes, runners, for example, can win their competition, just knowing the laws that from time to time, at least, make your body lighter. Your body becomes lighter when you are running with hands grasp and letting go, hands grasp and letting go. So doing this.
So it's almost like a pumping motion then. So when I'm running, it's like I'm trying to. I think I watch Olympic athletes do that, because when they're here, they're open. When they're here, they're closed.
Automatically, they can do open mouth and they can go, but not knowing this actually. But when it is knowledge, it is very different. So this is how we were working with skiers, with volleyball players from time to time. Even you go for fencing, and I'm talking about athletes of international level that we were working with weightlifting sports. Dr. Elvin Akhmatov, for example, my nephew, he also is in our system, and he's master of sports in weightlifting. Yeah. So these are the exercises that you can use in order not to destroy your own strength over the muscles and nerve system, for nerve system to be in progress, in normalcy, I would say. So this was one example.
Yeah, Dr. Masgutova, I'm curious if we could just define a reflex, because I think that would be an important kind of jumping off point for people to understand.
A reflex is automatic response of our nervous system for specific stimulus. So this is the stimulus that can be of different modalities. This can be touch for tactile system. It can be deeper sensation, proprioception, our tendons and ligaments, for example. It can be also the modality that we call auditory, visual, vestibular. These are main modalities. So sensory of different modalities affecting our body in specific places causes the response. And response must be proper. If I'm touching, look, the receptive field of the hands grasp, the upper part of the palm and the phalanges level, hands grasp must happen. But if I'm pushing on the proximate base of the palm, then hands supporting must be there. Very much important. When you're falling down, you need to catch up your body. But this also serves for you to feel safe in your physical space. Or, for example, let's say if I'm giving some trigger to auditory system, then we can see in the pupils, if pupils are bigger, that means your reflex that we call stapedial auditory still is hypersensitive, childish, babyish, and your pupils became immediately big. So we have our own checklist, so to say, the assessment procedure in order for people to know. And when athletes come, they're very much interested in assessment of their reflexes to see what reflexes are hypersensitive, what reflexes are working well, and then they have procedure like to take care of that. The funniest thing, like leg cross-flexion extension, when you step on stone, you immediately, in real life, immediately jump over to other leg, pulling the body weight to other leg. So this is how you are saving your leg. It is mostly overworked in runners. And we think, oh, runners for sure, they're perfect with their automatic gait, with their leg cross-flexion extension. But with years and career, they are not taking care of all this. They are worse and worse with their reflexes. So reflex is not working. That means then natural automatic response of muscles for contraction, for lengthening will not work. So the mechanism that was discovered by Charles Sherrington, Great Britain, at the beginning of century, the law of elasticity, muscle spindle elasticity, just is refusing to work. This is why when we are overloading, possibly some people think they are good, strong, breaking of the tissues happen, whether that are tendons cut, tired, whether it is the breaking of the bones is happening. With one person, it happens under the same condition, with the other not. We find that actually service of reflexes is not strong. So reflex is also created for taking care of stress. Look, it is the response of our nerve system and extrapyramidal in first order, everything that is for automaticity. Then we understood from definition that sensory stimulus and motor response must be connected. Proper motor response must happen for air reflexes. If it is ears, for example, then tympanic membrane. If it is touch, then muscles. If this is light, then our eyes. Plus, reflex is active in order to activate survival and protection in stress. This is most important. 3 components when we give definition for air reflex. What does it mean? The last one, stress, organization of stress resilience. We have so-called HPA stress axis. HPA stress axis, this is non-specific response when stress, I told already about what are the factors for stress. This is intensity of stimulus. This is the length, too long, prolonged, and also frequency. So the stress now, thanks to these factors, in parentheses, thanks based on these factors, is creating the work, pushes on the work of 3 groups of neurons. Hypothalamus, pituitary gland. Hypothalamus is internal alarm. It starts immediately shouting when we are in stress. Now brings information to pituitary gland saying, I'm going to release stress hormones. You must be ready and release, please, anti-stress hormones when you feel the hormones of stress are overwhelming, and sends the information to a 3rd group of neurons, which is adrenals. So now 3 centers in the body are active and they regulate stress hormones. So HPA stress axis, H hypothalamus, P pituitary gland, A adrenals, they are regulating stress level. Now stress hormones reach every cell in our body, including muscles. Now muscles must really respond immediately because you are talking about muscular intelligence. And it is very much important for us to know what is the intelligence of all that. That means now regulation of the contraction, lengthening depends on elasticity. And here reciprocal innervation, reciprocal activation will happen in between the brain and muscle fibers, and reciprocal inhibition. And when your body is not listening to the weight, it is too big, it is too big, it is not according to my training, and then you are breaking yourself. So you go into direction of breaking and next disease. And it is very much important that the brain will understand the moment of training that I have this capability, my motivation, my stress hormones add into that. I can do some more. Elasticity allows elasticity mechanism. But if elasticity mechanism from usual training goes further on, still it is in the range of the positive protection, you can do. You will win. But a bit more, you will fail. I mean, your muscular system just will fail. Now the question is,
so fascinating.
Do we want to know about this?
I want to know everything about this. That's so interesting. Yeah.
Invite us. We will tell you. It's just like what is contracted muscle, what is the muscle length in normal state, and now what is the muscle in the when you are prolonging it, forced elongation. But then you need to know there is an area that we call guard response. And this guard response is muscular guard, tendinous guard, ligament guard. This is how we come so attentive way when we're creating our exercises, and we work with children, with many children at this moment. 300,000 of children went through our therapies within 4 centers in the world, and 80,000 of adults and athletes among them. PTSD post-trauma conferences, we organize conferences, they come and they learn. So now look, within this even understanding of elasticity mechanism, now elasticity mechanism allows from forced lengthened muscle to come to positive protection. Still, we are in the area of positive protection. But when elasticity mechanism gets the information, that is it, the end. If a person is not listening to, damage of the body will happen, damage of the tissue will happen. So we need to know what is reciprocal innervation, what is reciprocal inhibition. Brain must tell now immediately, hey, neurotransmitters, now please, acetylcholine neurotransmitters in contracted muscle, you are working for activation. Now you need to change the mode, and we will send you opposite thing, acetylcholine of inhibitory meaning, in order to keep you safe. And at that moment, elasticity mechanism is there, brings the information for muscle, whether to lengthen, whether not. We want it to lengthen a bit, otherwise trauma will happen. Better to fall for overload, to fall down, than to traumatize your own body. So these are tiny kind of reflexes of tendons of the spindle cell that go to bigger reflexes, such as core tendon guard, when we are protecting our own core and trunk, I mean the spinal column, for example. And the same with upper limb reflexes and lower limb reflex patterns.
It sounds like this is something that probably most athletes experience. In your experience, is this something that most athletes have? And then maybe how do we? You said runners have an overtrained reflex. What would we start doing to reverse that?
Yeah, Ben, this is a kind of thing all our life helping athletes, individuals. Still, we couldn't reach bigger groups of athletes, trainers, the sports. They are just like dealing with bigger things, as you understand. And at the same time, who is going to take care of the nerve system and immune system in a natural way? Because sports must serve your health also, not only using your body. Second, it is about stress resilience. How to make stress resilient, not your mind, not your, I would say, emotions or motivation. We want to make resilient. We want to make your nerve system also resilient. Nerve system must be resilient by itself. And we do not have this kind of concept in the world in practical application yet. What do I mean? Look, what a resilient nerve system means. When reflex is maturing, so the paving of the pathways happen. So inside proteins now within the reflex circuit know how to act, how to provide the electrical potential within the reflex circuit. Now, resilience also means myelination, when the fat surrounding around the axons happen, to isolate the axons for faster and proper work of electrical potential. This is from electrophysiology of the reflex circuits. Now, thinking about that, how we can work for paving the pathway, this is our memory. And repetition is the myelination. So that means, hey, being an adult, that doesn't mean that I must ignore reflex topic because it is like definition for a child behavior. Absolutely not. The more we work with reflex patterns, the healthier we are, because now we are taking care of the nerve system, and it is health of the nerve system, and it is connected straight ahead with immunity. Then it is stress resilience. And the best thing is, third factor for this and basis is neuroplasticity. Do we want neuroplasticity when brain is changing itself? Absolutely, yes. When brain is creating new pathways, and this is what we want, then we're stepping into the area of neurogenesis. Our even stem cells will be produced better, more, especially a trauma situation for an athlete.
So, Dr. Masgutova, how do we know, the term stress resilience is a kind of a speculative one, we'll say, right? How does an athlete know when enough is enough? I think there's these people out there who are really trying to push their system. They're really trying to push their body. And mentally, we learn to turn that off. We learn to turn off those physiological signals. And I'm curious if there's some way, like, is it just that we're looking for the breakdown of the reflex, or like, ultimately we're trying to create an objective measure out of a subjective stimulus, right? So I'm curious if you have any thoughts on when does this reflex integration start to break down? And is there such a thing as, stress inoculation? Like, I'm actually making myself better at performing this thing over time.
Mm-hmm. So as I told already, stress is a needed thing because stress gives us strength. We need stress hormones. This is clear. The question is, when stress hormones are working too much, what is happening here? Not answering your question immediately, I will just bring example. In norm, the excitatory neurotransmitters, such as glutamate, substance P, and then inhibitory neurotransmitters, GABA or dopamine inhibitory, they must really go with balance. When we are performing, then it is clear that excitatory signals must be stronger than inhibitory ones. So to be aware of this process, just like on level of knowledge, is important. Many athletes do not know about this, many of them that we are working. So now, what are the signs of this? So your breathing is sign number one. Your breathing is sign number one. So when you stop breathing, our breathing has three reflexes, basically. There are many more, but I'm talking now about main. This is inhalation, exhalation as one cycle, inhalation, exhalation, in which normal way, like we are inhaling during 5 seconds, we pause 2 seconds, and then we exhale 7 seconds. This is like normal tempo of breathing. So we want this breathing, but when stress, sure, we inhale and we pause. This is survival reflex. Or we exhale and we pause. So for sports, we need to watch. What do I do more? Inhale and pause or exhale and pause? When you are before action, you need to inhale and pause to perform. And at the end, you need to exhale and pause. So sometimes it is mixture. And these people in breathing, instead of usual breathing, they start sounding. Their breathing even sounds something like this kind of, with shouting even comes, yeah? Like, maybe this is not so noticeable, but person always will feel when they are exhaling, if the rib cage goes down. If rib cage is not going down and hangs, it is compressed, not good. Residuum volume of the lungs, not enough already. This is additional factor that is hitting the hypothalamus, and you need to breathe much more often, yeah? So rapid breathing is there. There are some kind of science in every human, actually, about this. The other thing is that we look if core tendon guard is working appropriately. So like even simple things, you are bringing the arms and you suddenly pull them, and then you compare left and right sides. Oops, left side is not symmetrical. Without mind to do this automatic way, just to feel that you really do honestly on body level, switching off your mind, your critical mind. And this is another sign. Hey, you lost your body symmetry. Up to 1 centimeter, look, like nail length, is okay. But if it is more, it is not okay already. So you are losing your symmetry, you are pushing you too much, do some exercises. What other exercises? We have anti-stress exercises. This is tonic labyrinthine. Then 18, you go to one side and you stretch your arm on the side. So we can come and give you this program. We can create program for you. We have already described exercises. We just can one after another suggest depending on sports. It is like overall warming up. Warming up is exclusively important. And then your direction in sports. So it is a possibility. I mean, if we go for cooperation. So next, core tendon guard is the response. Can you stand up? I don't know if the environment is allowing you to stand up and to see your head at least. Okay, thank you very much. Stand straight ahead. And now please, standing straight ahead, lean forward. Now maybe you feel that your feet went for foot grasp. Do you agree? Stay there, stay there. Do you feel that feet are going for foot grasp when you go forward?
Yes.
Yes. Okay. Now your trunk is much more tense now. All back muscles became tense.
Yep.
And also your head wants to go back. So 3 reflexes: head writing activated, your trunk extension, and also your foot grasp reflex button. Now standing straight ahead, go back. Don't fall down, okay? Be careful. Now, look, your feet went with dorsiflexion in head direction. Do you agree? Yeah. Yep. And your head wants to go forward. And now your belly became active. All your frontal surface body went with contraction more. So look, completely opposite responses. So now with these responses, you really need to measure. Please, I will give you something another. You are standing straight ahead. Go forward, please. And instead of using foot grasp, go to dorsiflexion of your feet. Opposite. You cannot. You feel. So
my knees bend.
This is what is happening. Now go please back. Go backwards. And now instead of dorsiflexion, try to grasp the earth, the ground. Oh, you see, you went with back even much higher.
Yeah,
so determining just how much you really under this change condition can cope with your body posture. If body posture is still even going forward or back, already tells you, are you under bigger stress or not? This is for determining like everyday stress. You just stay and that's it. One thing more. Stand straight ahead. One thing more. And please go forward and back slowly. And pay attention at your vision. What is happening with your vision? When you go forward, okay. Thank you. Yeah, you are narrowing the visual field when you go with flexion, and you are extending it when you go back. That means there's functional aspect in this reflex. So for tennis players, big tennis players, this is huge, because if they are in stress and they are with more contracted frontal body and their eyes are not separate, they cannot function separately, and they do not keep bigger visual field, they will fail. Like I was working, for example, with Lorenzo Highland. Thank you. We can sit here. I was working with Lorenzo Highland. This is big tennis player many years ago from United States, and he came specially to me and to person that was working with detective vision to keep the vision very fast in 2 visual fields. Right eye does its work, left does separately its own work. It was amazing, and I was working with him. For him, it was huge topic. Suddenly, we discovered, oops, you have narrow vision. You need to extend it in order to win, in order to see any millisecond of the movement of the ball. So this is about this, how we can determine some of the features of being stressed. The easiest for sure also to measure, just to go to doctor and measure stress hormones level, which is big deal. And in our work, in research, we do research from the beginning of development of our method, research of different aspects. And last year's, from 2016, actually, we are using neurotransmitters. In panel, 15 neurotransmitters in 12 groups. And we are watching what is happening with post-traumatic disorder individuals, or post-traumatic stress, or children with autism, or children with, let's say, cerebral palsy, or adults with brain damage, acute or traumatic brain damage. And we see how the neurotransmitters are the baseline. And then after our work, after our intense program of 6 hours of work, let's say 5 days, including athletes, how neurotransmitters are changing at the end. It is something amazing. We went to a very expensive research in the United States for 2 years. It was longitudinal research. And we have found within these 15 neurotransmitters that we are not increasing, we are not sedating, but we are working on regulation of neurotransmitters. This was happiest announcement from scientists when we did this research, because we didn't know what to expect. We didn't know what is there that our method does do. And when it came, yes, this is regulation of neurotransmitters. And it was not once. We did this during 2 years, several times. And then we compared with the QEEG. It is the quantitative electroencephalogram of the brain. We saw that we are regulating brainwave spectrum from alpha to theta, this is low frequency brainwaves, to delta, even lower, for sleeping, for example, and seeing why some people cannot sleep. Yeah, what is happening there? But this was not our main topic. I just talk about brainwaves. Or from alpha to beta, normal beta, and high beta. Normal beta allows us to focus, to be in control, in charge of our own body, our thoughts and actions and cognition. And high beta is if we are jumping over the beta fast frequency brainwaves to high beta, we're hyperactive. How many athletes in front before their performance, before their competition, are in hyperactive state? They are in high
probably
beta.
A lot. Yeah. Yeah. Maybe amateur athletes, pro athletes tend to, by that point, they're in control of it, I think.
And this is okay. It is normal. But after all this work, we need to come to norm. I mean, normalization. This is the question. What to do in order really to optimize, to regulate this process in active state, or when you are pausing, when you are in rest state. This is all about that, instead of damaging your own system.
Right. So Dr. Masgutova, what's the average amount of time someone should be spending on a day-to-day basis to integrate the reflexes? Let's say I really want to optimize the way my body works, decrease my stress. And the thing that's coming to mind for me is the term structural balance. Like, it's looking like we're trying to balance left to right, front to back, side to side. So, how much time on average do your programs take on a day-to-day basis?
It will depend on your possibilities, for sure. Time possibilities are very much important for everyone. From 10 minutes to 20 minutes for an athlete are optimum. When we talk about deeper stress and trauma, it will take from 20 to 40 minutes, optimum. When it is really bad disease state already, then better come to us and we will tell about this. The best way still is to come to our professional, to go through the reflex assessment in points. We will tell hands grasp, for example, 14 points instead of, let's say, from 16 to 17.99. In points, we will give you information about your reflexes. And then we are creating your home program. This is the best. If it is about directions, let's say, for weightlifters, we will give specific exercises. For runners, their exercises. For, let's say, skiers or volleyball players or fencing sports, we will give specific exercises. So we have enough of experience within work with PTSD, post-trauma athletes, some of them like skiers in the Alp mountains, broken, all apart. We were, after medical services, we were gathering them into center, bringing into normal state, and they were going through their crisis through depression because they couldn't be the best skiers of the world or Europe, for example, if it is about here. So we were working under stress, and some of them became trainers. Some of them opened their or their podcasts, for example. They opened their own business of TV show when they're bringing the athletes and at the same time giving announcement about interesting events and weather or something like this.
It sounds like your modality should almost be the first line of intervention for athletes, whether that be recovering from an injury or if they're getting prepared to go into to do a high performance workout. Does that sound like about where it fits? Like even before people do their warm ups and get into their high intensity training, doing some reflex integration, neurosensory reflex integration with using your methods. I think that's where it fits.
Ben, your question was the answer, actually. So you told, not me, after our communication, you told it is first line, it is first step to serve your best. This is our opinion because we are born with reflexes. It would be good to check this material first, how our brain body produces all these reflex patterns. Hands grasp, hands pulling, asymmetric tonic neck reflex for health of the spine, or gallant reflex pattern when we go side to side, or Perez reflex pattern, or Moro when we're frightened and we're falling down, or fear paralysis when we are frightened. So this is the stuff that to 21st century really has right to be known, period. Yeah. So this is why we can come to your group and just like to present the topic, because you are like first one that is better, more interested, how I see with the nature of the body intelligence, muscle intelligence.
Yeah. And I think it's like everyone's spending so much time trying to improve their movements, to try to improve their mobility. Okay. But it sounds like they're kind of fighting an uphill battle, right? It's like, we got to do this first before we can do those things.
Okay, I will tell you one thing, like what research we did for our internal research for sure, with BTS machine, EMG machine. So we ask athlete to go with leaning forward till the equipment will show that their muscles now are going with the vibration, which is optimum for these muscles. You understand me? Like reach the floor, lean and reach the floor. How many times you need? Optimum for this is 23 repetitions. And we say,
so just shifting weight forward and back from the toes to the heels, while I'm saying.
Back and I mean, this kind of exercise when you're leaning forward and try to reach the floor.
Oh, okay. Yeah, okay. Got it. It's like touching your toes. Yep.
This is what they use for warm up in many, many sports. Yeah. Yep. So that's what we were requesting. We were requesting them, turn your head for asymmetric tonic neck. Bring your one arm, the same side arm, extend. Now bring your body weight on the same side leg. Flex your opposite arm and flex your opposite leg. And now inhale and pull your body to the side. Does it make sense? Then in the middle,
it feels like yoga.
Then I say, head to other side, extend your hand, stretch it more, and the other side is flexed. Exhale. Exhale is of huge importance. Every movement we exhale, which is not in traditional system, by the way. And people just like athletes come and like, well, your breathing is reversed. No, our breathing, exhale, inhale is according to protection and survival mechanisms. So now, this exercise, they need to do 3 repetitions only. And their muscles, when they lean, show what they did within 23 times.
Wow.
This is fun. 23
this is great.
Equals 3 exercise, like you are dancing and doing nothing. Actually, you do a lot. You activate the asymmetric tonic neck reflex pattern, which is about activation of the our vestibular system. Vestibular nerve brings information, tones muscles of all the body, and we have the effect. Why not to do this for warming up? Just three times. Then you do exercises that are touring your muscles. You do not want to torn your muscles.
Right. The thing that got me interested in your modality specifically first was I have young children, now they're 8 and 10. And as a parent, I was so concerned, well, not concerned, but aware of this reality that they could have disintegrated, if that's the correct word, reflexes. And I wanted to give them every opportunity possible. I wanted them to be able to access their brain at maximum capacity, be able to access their body at maximum capacity. So I started researching what you're doing a little bit. It's just phenomenal. I think everyone who's a parent out there should be taking your course. I think anyone out there who's had any desire to optimize their body should be taking your courses. And you still continue to offer these around the world now, right?
Yes, we continue.
Okay.
So we work with children a lot. We have programs. And I think that some research at school in Louisiana, for example, demonstrates that they are studying thanks to all these exercises much faster. Like teachers finished their curriculum within half year, and they were just asking what to do now.
Yeah.
We're saying to live, to move more, and to strengthen the nerve system of children. Just like, let's go with this kind of optimum thing. Children are learning with movements that are based on reflex patterns, not every movement, how we were doing research on this also. But those movements that are reminding the reflex patterns, they play the role of moving also our cortical functions. Look, I gave definition that reflex is the automatic response in first order of the extrapyramidal nervous system, but it affects the cortex. Our research on QEEG, which is researching actually cortical areas of the brain, shows that we have champions within 5 days, champions for change of the brainwave spectrum in the direction of normalization. One goal, NFD, goal that was non-fatal drowning with reverse breathing. It was bad breathing, something like that. And she's so loud that when I'm lecturing, people cannot hear me. You can imagine. So she got within 5 days 80% of brainwave changes, 80%, with 46 of neuroplasticity. The other champion is from Sweden, the boy that got, I think, 60% of changes overall, and 40 sumish there for neuroplasticity. The other boy with dyslexia and also traumatic experience in his life from Florida. This is the grandchild of dean and president of our university, Masgutova Graduate School, we call for neurodevelopmental sciences. He got 70% of changes within 5 days. He never needed us anymore after these 5 days.
Right.
He finished his school. He's so successful. And that means actually trauma is treatable. It is not true that you need to go with this heavy luggage all your life.
Right. One of my passions in life is to be able to start a school, and for obviously for really anyone, I call it high performance, but it's just like more than anything, it's allowing people to express what is already in them from childhood. Right. I think if we have something like this as part of a curriculum in school, it just gives children an opportunity to, one, develop physically, develop mentally, and just be the best version of themselves without having constant roadblocks. It feels like kids that sit so much or they spend time inside with artificial light or have poor nutrition, don't sleep well, all these things. If we just remove those roadblocks and allow the child to flourish the way it's meant to, I think the opportunity for human development is so much greater than it currently is. I mean, that could just be a belief, but it seems like that has to be the reality. So I would love to have your curriculum as part of a school, or if you don't already do that, it'd be a really great idea.
Dear Ben, this is the biggest goal of ours. Universities created. We need to give attention because it's very hard time with COVID. We need to survive. The moment we will get accredited, at this time we opened only. We went through 2 semesters. Now the 3rd semester is going on, 1 semester more. After that, we have right for accreditation in the United States, in Florida. After that, we will start thinking about school. But there are already several people that really want to propose school. We have this experience. We had experience in other countries, though. So we worked with children from 3 to 6 in kindergartens. from 6 to 10 at elementary school. Wonders were there, wonders. Now in Poland, there is women in the place region that is called Kashuby, and she had her daughter with brain damage. She has her daughter with brain damage, and she was 16. When they brought her to us, then brain was damaged by her epilepsy attacks so badly that it looked as cerebral palsy, brain damage, cerebral palsy, and her knees were close to her core, flexed, and nobody could open her. 16 years. So it's just like this stuck. And she told that this is not possible, but still she wants to know what could be like easier way for her to live, to exist. How can we relax these contracted muscles? Everybody was thinking, if knees are all these years are in flexion, the tendons are short, you will not be able to stretch them. Our specialist opened her within 6 months. Though I was saying something can happen in 2-3 years, they opened in 6 months. Seeing this result, she made her decision. She's from education system. I am going to open the school for other children. And she gathered all children, like over 50 children for first year. Those children that got refusal for their physical therapy, occupational therapy, speech development, they just were on survival. That is it. So she gathered them and she started getting best results. In like 2 years, I think, people were pushing so hard, parents. She opened second school. And in these schools, 4 hours, they do hour sessions, 2 hours academics. Next, she's opened third school. When she opened second school, she got the highest award from president of the country. It's a pity that they didn't ask what was the method that they used. But our method is one of main methods. So we are going to open school. We will open school as a model for others to follow. And I know that in Florida, now already one of teachers, directors, and she has PhD in education. She is going actually I think she opened already her school, and she's going now to collaborate with us just to bring the whole system to her school. Bravo.
Well, I'm going to send this to the owner of my children's school, and maybe we'll have another one in Florida. So, Dr. Masgutova, you're truly a wonderful, wonderful person, wonderful gift to humanity. So thank you so much. This is amazing. And I'd love it if you could tell us a little bit about where our audience could learn more from you, whether they want to learn as a practitioner or even a parent or an athlete, where they can go to find out the best way to work with you personally.
Thank you very much, Ben, for warm words and for giving such a possibility to tell where they can go. Our website, www.masgutovamethod.com. This is our organization where all other different organizations grew, and we have 6 organizations total. Very active organization. This is our Masgutova Foundation. Again, the same name, Masgutova Foundation. And every Thursday, we have morning exercises at 9 a.m. Florida time. Isabel Renard Fontaine, our instructor that I told already about her, she is leading these morning exercises, and very successful. More and more people of different professions, healthy, not healthy, different people come. We created this actually for increase of survival during COVID times. So about immunity, about movements, about how to keep brain safe after COVID, especially. So they have topics, anti-COVID state, then it is how to work with your brain, then about sleeping, then it can be about coping with acute stress. Different topics are there actually. Then we have our university, and this is where we really want to invite intense way our audiences, our students. It is Masgutova Graduate School of Neurosciences Development. This is the school that exactly shows the knowledge, gives the knowledge, and shows the mechanisms and laws of the work of brain and our muscular system that affect our physical development, emotional development, behavioral regulation, cognitive development, and just it is about well-being, not medical approach. It is educational approach. We want to go on the path of educational approach. Those students that are there, not many yet, that are there already, they say it is amazing source of knowledge for any professional of helping discipline.
And how long is that course? Is it just in person or online as well?
It is online. Basically, 70% of the studies are online lectures. And for practicum, they're coming to our so-called family conferences, to our clinics, and they watch, and they're trained by supervisors, by their mentors in practicum in practice.
Dr. Masgutova, thank you so much. Truly, I really appreciate it. This is so wonderful.
And wishes of the good, healthy nerve system for you and your family and your audiences. We want to work with athletes because this is our next group that we want to target in sense of their processes and understanding that life can be easier, different way, and most important, to keep the health of the nerve system and neuroplasticity.
Thank you.
Thank you very, very much. Thank you.
And that is a wrap, ladies and gents. Thank you very much for being here. My name is Ben Pakulski. I love bringing the world's greatest humans to you with respect to performance, to understanding all the facets that go into performance. If you've never heard me talk about the 6 pillars of a lean, healthy, muscular body, you got to listen to that podcast. It's probably 6 or 8 months back now. I really want to understand that because that's the framework through which you make decisions on what's important and what's not important to you right now. And I promise that if you integrate some of Dr. Svetlana's MNRI program, Masgutova Neurosensorimotor Reflex Integration program, you're very likely to receive a significant benefit. And the benefits you may receive are things like increased mobility, increased balance left to right, and probably even increased performance. And I would also say almost certainly decreased overall stress levels, because when your body, she mentions, when your body is misaligned, it's actually perceiving that as a stress. So ladies and gents, if you are interested in optimizing performance, I highly suggest you check out Dr. Svetlana's course. You can follow her on social media. You can also check her out at the Masgutova Institute. She's actually in Orlando, Florida, and she's got people all over the world that can help you integrate. So thanks again to BUBS Naturals for being our sponsor today. And again, you can check them out at muscleintelligence.com/BUBS Naturals. If you're someone, one of the very few people left in this podcast who doesn't use BUBS, I highly suggest you continue to do so. Head over there now, pick some up, 20% off. And the cool thing about BUBS and why I continue to let them integrate with us is they're just such a great company that has a great mission and they're doing great things for other people. And 10% of their profits go back to charity, which I just love. And they've got such good products. So if you're going to buy it anyway, you're going to buy MCT, you're going to buy collagen, you should buy from BUBS because they're good humans and we love them. All right, guys, have a great day. Appreciate you being here. As always, don't forget to subscribe, share this podcast with at least one person you know and love as we continue to dive deep into muscle building month. Gun show. Talk to you soon.
Thank you so much for tuning into Muscle Intelligence. If you enjoyed today's episode, please be sure to share it with at least one person you know. Make sure you're subscribed so you never miss an episode. This podcast is for information purposes only. The statements and views on this podcast are not medical advice. This podcast, including Ben Pakulski and the producers, disclaim responsibility for any possible adverse effects from the use of information contained herein. Opinions of guests are their own, and this podcast does not endorse or accept responsibility for statements made by guests. This podcast does not make any representations or warranties about guest qualifications or credibility. This podcast may contain paid endorsements or advertisements for products or services. Individuals on this podcast may have a direct or indirect financial interest in products or services referred to herein. If you think you have a medical problem, consult a licensed physician.